So fancy seeing you here in a pub after lunch. So we've had lunch. So
I was actually going to kick off with a Scotch egg check.
Oh, go on then.
Did you have a Scotch egg?
I did. I love the Scotch eggs. Yeah.
Well, we had Scotch eggs on another podcast. How did these Scotch eggs compare?
So if I'm right, these are Scotch eggs made with black pudding.
Goodness. Proper, that's very, on this angle, that's Scotch. That's Northern eggs.
No, yeah,
Northern
yeah,
eggs.
yeah.
Northern eggs.
So, normally you can only eat them if you've got a whippet, and I own a whippet, so...
as many as you want.
Yeah.
Good.
How you doing? You still kind of lively and energetic?
Yeah, loving this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You look good. You look chipper.
You look chipper.
Thank you.
You're not, are you?
I'm not. No, I'm flagging a wee bit.
I'm carrying... Okay, I'm here. Don't worry, I'm here.
But we've got kind of like cracking podcast to really wake us up now, because we're going to delve into the world of social media. It's a revisit to social media.
Yes.
We sometimes bring guests back if we really enjoy them, don't we? So this is a kind of like a return visit to the podcast.
Yeah.
But also we're going to look at a little bit of kind of social media influencing, and I've bought a friend.
Good.
I say a friend. I'm stuck with him, but I'll explain more in a moment.
Lee Davis and Gwilym Roberts are the two IPs in a pod, and you are listening to a podcast on intellectual property, brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Patent Attorneys.
So Gwilym is just taking delivery of a pint, just for the record. I'm still nursing my first.
You're nursing that.
Yeah.
Wow, I've never seen that before.
So let's bring. Should we bring Rebecca in first? Rebecca, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks very much for having me back.
No, well, you obviously did well last
Well,
time.
I know, now I feel even more pressure. I thought I was I thought I was the dregs of the barrel, but here I am.
No, we did social media really early on in our attempt to launch a podcast.
When was it?
It was during lockdown.
It was during lockdown.
I don't know when, but
Yeah,
it
I think
was
it's probably
that haze of 2020.
Certainly in that first period of kind of like the first season or two.
When we were finding our way.
We're finding our way, yeah, and we found it. We're now quite good at this, aren't we, apparently?
I think so.
Yeah, natural kind of...
Born killers.
But it's okay, we have a second guest, so this is our first kind of quad podcast today. Kyle Ashman, hello. I should probably confess that I already know you, don't I?
Yes, I know you quite well.
You know quite well, yes. So Kyle appeared in my house about 5 years ago, and I've not managed to get rid of him.
No, I'm like furniture now.
he is literally like furniture, but he's very good at doing things like running the dog around and stuff like that. So we don't want to lose him, because we'd have to probably pay for a dog walker.
Keep him sweet.
Yeah. So, and Kyle's been doing some really interesting stuff online, social media influencing type stuff around the niche area of football shirts, which I know you're going to be fascinated in.
I say my brother-in-law's all over this, so
Yeah.
I know a bit about it.
Cool. So where should we start? Where should we go first?
Should we find out?
Should we find out what Kyle's doing?
What do you do?
Should we start there?
So I post like football shirts. I've got a collection of probably about between 100 and 150. All got different name sets. I post every day on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as well. I've loved football shirts all my life, and I just kind of fell in love with them again when I got older, pretty much. Yeah.
And you've got quite a lot of people listen to you talk about football shirts, don't they?
I have about, on average, like 10k views a day, and I've got about 12k on Instagram and on TikTok. So it's going alright. Posted every day for over a year now, which is quite cool.
But you never intended this to happen, did you?
No.
You didn't set out to think, I'm going to be like a social media influencer on football shirts.
No, it started how I eventually had probably about a collection of about 30, slowly, and then I've done 30 days, 30 shirts last May, and I didn't want to miss out on posting, and somehow I've done one every single day since, and my collection's probably like quadrupled in size, which is quite cool also. But my bank account is not quite cool because of it.
How's your advanced stock? How many days have you got?
I've probably got about 5 or 6 videos done. So I've got like next 6 days, and then within the next 6 days I've got some big stuff planned, so then it constantly rolls on and stuff, yeah.
And you got lots of shirts backed up. So you do one shirt per kind of day, is it? How does it work?
So it started off like that,
right.
Eventually it just turned into just football shirt content. So I'd pick a shirt and I'd talk about the shirt, had a centre badge, or if the club had a good season, if the player was good. So I can keep reusing ideas, reusing shirts, and I get sent new ones, buy new ones.
You get sent shirts, don't you? People send you them.
Yes, which is I never thought would happen.
No, did you have to send them back? Or?
No.
Oh, that's nice.
Just make the video, they send me the shirt, and then that's it.
Did they get a name check or something? Or has it? Why do they do it?
So I post. It's like a ad, like sending a footballer shoes for them to wear.
Yeah.
They send me a shirt. I do an opening video.
Yeah.
I've had shirts sent to me from like Australia and all over the world. Which I never thought would happen.
No.
So it blows my mind every time.
I saw you come in with a shirt
Yes.
What kind of spiel would you give on that? Do you mind me asking?
Yeah, go for
Because
it,
it's
yeah.
fascinating.
Do you want me to show you this?
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
This one's
Talk.
quite cool.
This doesn't work terribly on a podcast, but
No.
let's go with it.
I can try and explain it. It's a Turkish team, but the badge is holographic. It's like a lightning design. It's got Balotelli on the back. I like collecting name sets, and this guy, if you know him, very famous for being an idiot, really. Setting off fireworks in his house.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, very iconic player. So I probably didn't need it, but I've got it nonetheless.
So you have a collection of Balotelli shirts? then,
No,
or-
just him.
Oh, you're gonna
Just that one.
Okay.
I like different. So you get like a shirt, you can have a name set or not a name set.
I see.
For me, I like getting name sets because it's like an extra bit to the shirt, gives an extra story of how that player done and who that player is and stuff.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. And the other thing that's quite amazing is that Kyle doesn't see shirts in the same way that you see them. Do you?
I am quite colourblind. Yeah.
Oh.
Protanopia and a bit durotanopia.
Right.
Very badly protanopia, which is like green and red colourblind. Not the best thing, but I can still admire a good shirt.
Well, it takes you away from the really obvious thing, which is what colour's the shirt, because that's not a great
No,
kind of.
no. It's better than just
broadcast.
don't ask me what colour's the grass or what colour's the sky. I get asked them all the time when talking about it, and I know they're green and blue.
So Rebecca, you've had a chance to have a little look at some of Kyle's stuff.
Yeah, I'm adding to his viewers, his likes, his users in an area that up until you guys invited me on, I did not know existed in this much detail. It's really fascinating, really interesting as well, knowing you're colourblind and watching it. And we had chats about kind of what implications that might have for your attention to detail. Kind of like, so if someone's totally blind and they have better scent or hearing or whatever, and what kind of spidey senses you have for attention to detail in shirts as a result of being colourblind. It's really interesting.
So one of the areas that Kyle and I have been talking about recently is sort of identity online, socially. So you're trying to build a bit of a kind of brand out of this now, aren't you? And so on.
to an extent.
So maybe a conversation around the sorts of things that people are doing, what Kyle's doing, what should they be doing in terms of protecting themselves and their identity, but also what do they need to look out for to not perhaps infringe other people or
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting, kind of the change of practice over the last kind of 10 years, because obviously when I started advising, influencers did not exist, and so you're just kind of giving advice to bricks and mortar brands on how they protect their brands. But then obviously with the increase of online, social media, etc., there are so many companies and businesses, of which you are now one, where they start entirely online. And so originally you can be advising companies about how to expand into the online space and make sure that they're kind of getting their brand and all their handles and social media and what I call your digital footprint to reflect your trademark portfolio. Whereas for new businesses who are starting entirely online, it's kind of, the world is your oyster as to what you choose. As long as you're not choosing a name that already exists, then you just need to be the first to get a handle, and then you're kind of golden. And as long as you're doing it across all of the platforms, then that's brilliant. But I do think that is one thing that people need to be conscious of, is even if you have no intention of using a particular social media channel, that you probably still need protection in it, just to ensure
just by being on it.
Or just make sure that no one else can kind of pretend to be you on one that you're not on. So you were talking earlier, Kyle, about there are way more businesses on Instagram than there are on TikTok. But given the size of TikTok, it would be absolute lunacy for anyone to not have a TikTok handle that reflects their brand.
Yeah. So we've been talking about this at home, haven't we? Because you're kind of the first idea for an identity. We found out that there was it existed not particularly in social media, but on eBay, wasn't it?
Yes.
And so Kyle's had to make the difficult decision to bin off his first idea and launch again.
Yeah, slightly modify it. So I've got a group chat on a Telegram, where it's got over 1,100 other football shirt collectors in it, all across the world, and it was called Football Shirt Community, Football Shirt Collectors, sorry, and we've had to change it to Football Shirt Community because there was someone else with the Football Shirt Collectors. So kind of modified, and it's helped in a way because it's more inclusive.
Yeah, and it's interesting by kind of almost choosing that kind of an inclusive name. It's great, and all power to it. There are flags in my mind, because obviously by defining something as a community, are you in a way giving that brand to everyone and not just keeping it for yourself? So would other members of the Telegram group think that they have equal rights to it despite you being the person that created it? And that might be something that you're totally, absolutely fine with. And so then I guess it becomes, as you grow, do you potentially even need two brands, one for your community, but then also for you individually to make sure that you have that double layer of protection. I promise not to get too legal and geeky, but
Oh no, Rebecca, get legally geeky,
okay.
please.
Yeah.
Welcome. See, I mean, Section 1 of the Trademark Act, literally the very first thing in the Trademark Act is the point of a trademark is to distinguish your goods from the goods of someone else. And so by choosing a name like community, it almost, the point of it is to create community and to not create a distinction between you and everyone else in that community, because that's what the inclusive word and what we all, why we all get warm feelings about the word community, because it is inclusive. But then does it in fact define you as opposed to any other member of that community? And so that would be a potential risk to just be careful of. The other one that springs to mind, and I'm not trying to trash your name here at all, is trademarks that are descriptive are also challenging. And if one were to ever try to register it, the IPO could say, actually, this is descriptive because it is a football shirt. It's a community for football shirt lovers. That is potentially less of a challenge because you can acquire distinctiveness. So even if the IPO could say, well, no, we just think this describes what you do, then you could say, yes, but actually I have thousands of followers, and so I have acquired distinctiveness in that name. So some of the points are kind of easily overcome, some of them less so, and you just kind of need to look at the whole spectrum of things. And I promise to stop being a legal geek now.
No, it's good. We're here to do legal geek stuff.
I was going to ask, you use the word handle. Do people call it a handle, or is that something from CB Radio?
I've never really heard it.
No, I thought that's what it was. I knew it, Lee.
No.
Smokey and the Bandits, your major social media reference. Yes. But the purpose of the label, let's call it, is that so that people, when they want to find you, they type that in on their various channel and they come to you. Is that the thinking?
So yeah, I've really made it just because I growing up and I didn't really know anyone who liked football shirts, but I loved them. So I'd like to get friends who like football shirts as well. And this is exactly what it is. Like you said, it is literally a community where, because there's a lot of fake shirts about, and if you're a fake shirt collector, that's fine. But if you're a real shirt collector, you don't really
So
like
hang on, is that a collector of fake shirts, or someone who's just pretending they're shirt collecting and they're fake?
collector of fake shirts? Yes, sorry, I should have made that a bit clearer.
Yeah.
So we help authenticate shirts, and we just talk, and it is literally a community. People all over the world constantly messaging. I actually have to mute it because my phone's going non-stop all day with just people messaging. But yeah, it's good.
And are you kind of an early starter in terms of what you're doing, in terms of all the various channels that you're going through? Is there a lot of competition out there? Or?
There's quite a few, as I like to say, big dogs, where they've got the big companies working with them.
Oh, I see.
I'm slowly up and coming. They've been doing it for years, and they've been doing longer form of content. And I'm quite short form content, only about a year. So I'm kind of starting out to an extent, but there's not many people doing it. It's quite niche.
You've had some big results, haven't you? Cancer Research UK?
Yeah, that was a big one for the Bobby Moore Fund for Football Shirt Friday. Done a video on that, which was really cool. An ambassador for Whatnot, an auctioning company, which I sell shirts on, which is quite big. A couple of big ones, people sending me shirts and following me and interactions, which is quite cool.
Well, do you have a particular kind of style, the way you do it, that's a bit different from the others? Or
I think after trial and error, I found a format that worked where I'd basically say the opening, say what does this shirt mean or something like that, and then that would come up big on the screen, and then about the next 50 odd seconds I'll talk about the shirt and stuff. And I've actually had people copy that format now because I found that's the best way to get people's attention and to find stuff about the shirt.
I guess, Rebecca, you can't own that that's something you can't own, can you?
I mean, in theory, if you graph it all out, there might be copyright in that, but if someone comes up with it independently of you and hasn't copied you, then and also, I mean, there are bigger fish to fry in this world than to potentially go after people about the format, and that's absolutely no disrespect. I mean, pick your battles, and that's probably not one that anyone wants to die in a ditch for.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily bother me because it's more the fact of the person messaged me asking if it was alright, and I've found it's the best way to get across the football shirt and to make it like enjoyable to watch. So if I can watch it and enjoy it, then that's more than alright.
It's kind of flattering as well if you've nailed it and you've got other people copy it. As long as you're the originator, though, you want to be the original short form content.
I mean, I don't think I'm the original, but I'll take what I get. Really. I'll take what I get.
But I like the way you end all of your videos with a question as well, because it kind of adds to the community feel of it, and it kind of re-emphasises the brand, that this isn't just you telling people what you think. You're trying to start a conversation and get people engaged.
So what are the pitfalls that people should look out for? We had a brief conversation when we were planning the podcast. What in terms of, could Carl potentially be putting himself in a position where he might infringe other people?
Yeah, I think having watched quite a bit of it now, I think it's really cleverly done, and I haven't seen any kind of major red flags. I don't think I'm going to be going back to my desk and sending you a cease and desist. But
I bet you're so glad you came.
Weight off my shoulders.
But one thing I did, and I'm not an expert in kind of influencer advertising law at all, but a couple of things that did spring to my mind was what mentioning the whatnot, and sometimes when you mention them in the videos, the logo appears, and you do it also for some companies that you don't have an official arrangement with, and so when their logos pop up, query whether they might like that or not, depending on your content. Like I said, it's a really inclusive, engaging content, so there isn't any reputational issue at stake or anything like that. So I don't see any red flags. And for brand owners, obviously, they want people to be using their platforms, their reselling platforms and things like that. So they're getting free promotion out of it. I mean, technically, the use of the logo, that's going to be an artistic work, and a reproduction of it is going to be copyright infringement. But like I said, I think you're probably going to be okay. But I guess where the red flag is coming in is if you might be doing anything that is suggesting an affiliation that you don't necessarily have, or if you're not in circumstances where you might have an affiliation, like some of the people that send you the shirts, are you marking, if something is in effect an ad for that company because they have sent you something, are you doing all the right things about flagging up that this is potentially kind of paid content, and putting the right hashtags on things to demonstrate that. So I guess again, just these are all things that as you grow and as you get more followers, the risks are obviously going to increase because you're going to get more attention. So the sooner people can kind of be on the right side of that and just build it into their mechanics of the content they put out there, obviously far less risk there'll be.
I've got a question about this format. So you mostly, as you were saying before the podcast, you sit in a room on your own. How do you find this? Because there's a room full of people hanging on your every word. How do you find it? Hang, everyone, hang.
It's very different. I mean, I filmed actually my first kind of video with someone the other day. That was my older brother. Some of the words I got wrong, I was there making an absolute state of myself. But I think once you do it once, you just kind of get used to it. I'm kind of blocking them out.
Yeah.
No offence, I'm just blocking them out. It's very different. But then you see me, or you wouldn't see me, but if you were to watch the full uncut version, I mess up and I stutter and I say the wrong words.
Right.
And so I choose the best bits and then make them into a video.
It's funny because over lockdown we all sat there and ended up talking into empty space and doing webinars, and you ran that massive party, the CEPA event.
Yeah, we did the thing that I can't call Taskmaster.
No. Out of interest, Lee, generally you were being incredibly lively and charismatic to an absolutely empty space. It must have been quite hard work.
Although I did have an audience, didn't I? Because it was on Zoom, and you're getting some kind of feedback. You don't get that, do you? You have no audience whatsoever.
No, I'm literally just stood there. Can't even go outside of my room because where I kind of film, I put my rail in front of the door, so I can't even go out of my room.
No.
Just talking to a camera. Yeah, it's quite difficult when you first start. I mean, you should hear some of the I can't even explain how bad the one was recently. It was so bad. It was at a football shop near where I live. It's a charity shop. And I was there and I said, no matter what sport you love, if you're an Arsenal fan or a Tottenham fan, you both love Tottenham. It's not what I'm supposed to say. I wasn't supposed to say it, and it just came out. And,
So you got eyes from Neil there as an Arsenal fan.
I don't like Tottenham. I'm a Chelsea fan, so I don't know how I ended up saying it. Not Chelsea. I don't know how I ended up saying it, but yeah, you do get yourself in a state.
You got any IP questions for Rebecca? Is there anything you're sort of thinking, oh, it'd be really good to find out this? Because it's the only time you get to speak to a lawyer for free.
I suppose if I were just to state that if it was an ad and it's a paid partnership, then that kind of solves the using their logo kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. And to be honest, if you have an agreement with someone, they'll be totally fine with it. And like I said, the main risk for brands is where there's a reputational risk, and that just isn't arising. And you're, even where you're doing posts about, being a Chelsea fan and you don't want to keep a Man United jersey because that's, not what you want in your arsenal, terrible, in your collection, then, it's done super respectfully and you never bash anyone in anything that you do. So, there's never any kind of undertone to anything. So, but I guess that's always the kind of the mantle that you have to bear as an influencer, is just kind of always maintaining the right side of the line. And interestingly, one of the things that you talk about a little bit is replica shirts, and how, you understand why people do it. There's a cost of living crisis, you're not judging anyone. But I wonder whether that message might need to be modified slightly if you get bigger, to say, and do educational pieces around some of the risks around counterfeit products. And, counterfeit does fund crime, and cartels make millions. I mean, just before the Olympics, there's going to be millions of pounds worth of fake goods that are fueling terrible crime and child exploitation. And so while I fully respect the message of you not judging anyone, maybe some brands might not love that message to be spread, and a slightly, not quite harder line taken, but more of an educational line taken on it.
That's a good line for you to develop there, isn't there?
That's just a couple of video ideas. Thank you very much.
Well, there you go. You can say paid advertise for me on it, and then we're quits.
There's a real authenticity about what you're saying. You're doing it because you love football shirts. You want to talk to other people about football shirts. If this becomes kind of a revenue stream for you in a big way, and you become big, do you think your attitude towards copycats might change?
Depending on who I'm working with, yes. If it's with a big company, then I think it's hard because shirts are expensive. Don't get me wrong, I'd buy second hand so it's cheaper. If you're buying a shirt reel that's £70 with no print on the back, you had print that's about £90, you had patches that's £100, you get the player version that's like £150. It's just extortionate money.
Yeah.
So I can understand why, like I said, it is fueling bad people, and it's not I want to say right in inverted commas, it's not the right thing to do. But again, with money, people are going to go for the cheap option rather than the £150 shirt, which I got bought as a present from my mum and dad for Christmas, and I was happy for it, but I was like, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of shirts.
That's a lot of shirts, yeah. That's a lot of money.
Where do you get your old kit, your retro vintage stuff that you find? Where do you get it from? Where do you find?
I mostly get it on Vinted. This is not a paid sponsorship. This is me being nice to them. They want to give me a sponsorship, please do. I just find that a lot of people don't necessarily understand the value of football shirts. They'll put one on there for a tenner. Yeah, it's like a £100 shirt from a couple of seasons ago, really rare. So that's good and bad.
You're quite good at spotting these, aren't you?
Well, I scroll through it constantly. The other week I had like 4 hours on Vinted in one day. I bought about 30 shirts. It was worth it.
Kyle was playing in a charity football match it was a Sunday, wasn't it? Yeah. And Thea's with me watching it, and she's on her phone, and then she screams across the pitch to him, £62!
That was worth it. That was a Jogger on the back, one of my heroes growing up. I had to buy it.
Obviously, we're not surprisingly pretty pro IP on this podcast, but you mentioned that the extortionate prices of some of the football shows, and I think I'm right in saying that basically the price is IP.
Yeah, that's a really excellent point, and you kind of make the point about, one of the videos I saw of kind of one of the ways of identifying replica shirts is that they won't necessarily have all of the IP one would expect to see on a shirt. In particular, the sponsor, a lot of the sponsor logos, whether that be the kind of kit manufacturing partner, Nike, Adidas, whoever, or the team jersey sponsor, the sleeve sponsor, whatever, and that is it. I mean, companies are spending millions, if not billions of pounds to sponsor these teams, and they want their IP prominently on it. And in order for the clubs to recoup that money, they need to be blazoning things and selling them at high prices. And obviously, football is in the kind of interesting situation where you have different players every single season, so they have a constant churn. So not only are you changing the designs, your design gets matched to a particular year, and if you have a good season, then that shirt presumably goes up in value. If a certain player does well in a World Cup or in a Euros, that presumably will influence the price of a jersey. And there is a huge amount of money involved, playing the players, the sponsorship that gets paid to be on jerseys, and they want it done properly, and that's why also you have a lot of people monitoring who is infringing, because it could be the shirt sponsor who wants to make sure that replicas without their name aren't being used, or that poor quality replicas aren't being put out there. The same with the kit manufacturers, etc. And I think the other thing is that just because something is something that you wear rather than consume, like fake pharma products, there is still danger. There's flammability issues, there's toxicity in products, there's child labour, and you have none of that authentication process if I think you're saying the codes on the labels when they get cut off, and that's one of the key things to look for. So they do design them in a way to help people ensure that they are getting value for money because they are authentic, but they are a kind of commodity with a high turnover.
We've got an audience, Graham, haven't we, in the pub we're in? And I'm wondering whether any of our audience members might have either a kind of a social media IP question or a football shirt question. Neil, shout for the microphone, don't forget.
SEPA is on most social media platforms, the big ones, but the one that we've ummed and ahed about, because of the difficulty in generating good, credible content, is TikTok. And people have even sort of derided the idea of SEPA being on TikTok. You mentioned a while ago that you thought, it's such a massive platform now that it's worth being on. You could expand on that.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's worth being on for your brand, but I think there's a difference between buying your name and having the ability to be on a platform than actually using the platform. And I think a lot of what we advise clients is, whether you're building a traditional trademark portfolio or the digital footprint, you have to look at it, and I'm a litigator, so I do look at it this way, both from an offensive and a defensive perspective. And so that's why I say kind of mapping out your digital footprint, and even if you've no intention of ever being active on a platform, still being able to have your name on it to prevent other people from using it can in itself be a value for the nominal price that getting that handle has. It's the same with domain names. Do you want a .co.uk and a .com?
Yeah.
If you expand into another jurisdiction, do you want the local GTLD for that domain name? It's the same. It's your digital footprint. How are you protecting yourself to ensure others are not infringing it?
Can I slightly butt in on that question? It's not my kind of.
You go for it, mate.
But what I found is that on TikTok they're quite immature. So I know on TikTok, if I said that I'm from Portsmouth but I don't support them, I'd get abused on TikTok. But on Instagram, I'd have people actually commenting their opinion, saying why they support their team and whatnot. Yeah, if TikTok is more for if you're going to make funny videos, like I know Curry's, they do funny videos and I see them on there, but it's not that kind of serious platform, I would say, just from my experience.
Did you see many lawyers basically doing TikTok?
I don't, but it's a good opportunity if you wanted to make a lot of funny lawyers content. You could do and get your name out there.
There you go, Graham.
Yeah, that's a long shot, isn't it? That's really interesting. I think we look at it, and I think because there's the X or Twitter kind of what you put out on there. There's Instagram, there's all these different platforms, and I think a lot of law firms and professional bodies broadly kind of a bit scared of the whole thing, and you have to choose. There's a reputational element, isn't there? If you go on a funny platform, you're kind of saying something about your brand which you may or may not want. I don't know.
Yeah.
We've got a question over here from Andre at RWS. This is not paid content.
So first of all, I just want to say that what I'm about to say is it's not condoned by RWS. This is my own opinion. I'm about to ask, but just on the TikTok, there's actually someone called the TikTok lawyer. His name is Alex Su, and he's been promoting legal tech using TikTok. And you should look him up if you don't. My colleague in next city, he knows what I'm talking about. So he's been revolutionizing the legal world. My question is for Kyle, and it's both with love to football and secret adoration to Ryan Reynolds and Rob Michael Henney. Do you have a Wrexham shirt?
I do not have a Wrexham shirt, sadly, no. I'd love to, but not yet. I may get one for the collection.
Double ascensions.
Do you know what I've got on Wrexham? It's my dad's team.
Is it?
Yeah. I've been to see Wrexham. First game my kids ever saw was Wrexham versus Peterborough, which put them off. They now play rugby, basically just because of that. But I have a Rocking Robins scarf from, I'm going to say about 1996, 97. Is that worth a bit, or?
Actually, Matt talked to a football scarf guy. I like scarves. I've got football scarves, but
There will of course be one.
yeah, there will be one.
Yeah.
I guess to a Wrexham fan, or to you, it might mean a lot.
It does mean a thing to me.
To a Wrexham fan, it may mean a little bit. Just stick it on Vinted and someone will soon
Kind of buy it anyway.
Stick it on there.
900 quid.
Stick it on there.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Go on, Ian.
Really basic. What's your favourite shirt?
The one I'm wearing.
Wow.
Yeah. Real Madrid 11-12.
Alright.
Yeah. The white.
Why?
So I was born in 2004 and I was just getting into football at like 8, so around this time started playing like FIFA, and I just remember seeing this kit and falling in love with it. Back then I loved Ronaldo. He's on the back of this shirt. Yeah, just a mix of nostalgia and it's white so I can see the colour of it, really.
Can I just ask you to tell a little story that you've told me before about the colour blindness thing? When you were playing football, how did you distinguish between teams?
People's boots. I used to look at their boots because we used to be green and black, and sometimes we faced a team that's red and black and they wouldn't wear a different shirt. And if I look, so you're looking down, you kind of, with your peripheral vision, you're seeing them, but obviously I'm seeing them wrong.
Yeah.
So I learned that to spot people's boots and yeah, it's different ways of doing it. If I pass to someone, I'll just blame the colour blindness.
Anyone else got any other questions? I can't believe you got football shot questions over on that table there, seeing as how obsessive you are.
Just an observation. At professional level, they take colour blindness into account, don't they, with the toning for kids?
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah.
I haven't necessarily looked into colour blindness. I've never actually spoken about it on any of my videos.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
We're
Just
opening things up here.
my lifelong secret. Just. But it's, I'm more of a era of when I was a live collector, so that's like 2010s. But I've got I'd say a 2003-4 Real Madrid shirt with Michael Owen on the back, which is quite cool. Yeah, I think he went that season. That's my oldest one. But normally like 2010s and early 20s.
So kind of vintageness isn't necessarily a massive selling point, or is it just your particular niche?
So if you look into like retro football shirts, you'd be spending an absolute fortune on them, and two, I think a lot of shirts come with nostalgia. So if you're alive, like this shirt for me is my favourite because I remember it from when I was like 8.
Yeah.
So if like you two, if you've found shirts from, it would be nice to say like the 80s, and you have that special memory. Like I know you've spoken to me about people you've seen live. Oh, I saw them in that shirt, so that's got an extra meaning for you. So you'll spend a bit more on it. Whereas me, it's just a bit bad. It's just a shirt. It's just an old shirt. I don't have special meaning.
I saw Kevin Keegan playing for Hamburg, was it Hamburg? Versus Borussia Mönchengladbach in about 1974. So I could do with that shirt.
I saw Pele, believe it or not,
No, you didn't.
play at Fratton Park in Portsmouth back in it would have been the 80s, when he came over with the Fort Lauderdale Strikers, is it?
I think so. They weren't the team in. Is that Team America?
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
Yeah, so he's very, very at the end of his career, but yeah, I saw Pele playing.
That's your dream shirt. Well, that's that question gone from the.
Funny enough, that was going to be my closing.
Oh, no.
I'm going to modify it. I've got a way of modifying it, don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I got one more question.
Yeah, go for it.
Kyle, so I sit with Lee mostly on the podcast and through council and my honorary secretary role. What is it like sitting with us over dinner or watching a telly or something?
It's lovely. It's lovely. Yeah, that's why I'll leave it.
Should we
at
just leave it
It's
at that?
lovely.
Okay, yeah.
It's lovely. In a nice way.
Well, to the you can't see this. He's actually just held up a little piece of card saying, "Help me!"
Kyle wouldn't eat if it wasn't for me.
No. I will say that he's a very good cook. I do
interesting.
thoroughly enjoy his
Okay.
dinners.
Okay.
Oh, thank you both for coming on
Thank
and
you
sharing
very
your
much.
very, very different perspectives on the same topic, which that's lovely, isn't it? It's been really good to get such a, I say polarised, that's not the right word, is it?
Well, it's a big difference between the legal perspective, which is when things kind of go wrong, and super massive fan of shirts, which is when things are going right. And what's happening is you're transitioning into needing your esteemed co-podcaster. Which is where hopefully things go well.
So Rebecca's been on before, she knows this, but we always finish Kyle with some kind of like tangential question. So this is the best I've got, Gwynn. You haven't nicked where I was going.
I had no idea. That's such a good answer.
So I'll broaden it out to and this will also help you, to any sport, okay?
Yeah.
If you could grab one piece of memorabilia from any sport, what would you go out and grab?
The only sport I've ever played competitively is croquet. So I don't know if there's a big kind of croquet, influencer out there with some good shirts. I'll be checking out their broadcast.
Thank you. So Rebecca, let's do you, because I know where he's going to go. So,
mine may be more an aspirational one, because I am more of a rugby fan than a football fan, and my team Leinster just lost in the Champions Cup final in the Tottenham Stadium 10 days ago. So
but it's not raw, is it?
Oh, I'm over it. But it would be our 5th win, so I'm looking for that 5th star on a jersey.
Oh, wow.
That's what I'm going to look for.
Yeah. So coming in, Kyle, it doesn't have to be a football shirt, mate. Okay, you could be brave.
As you know, we've tried watching cricket and rugby. Not for me. It's too much. So mine is going to be football. Obvious answer. It's hard that my brain just goes straight to value. It would be the Messi, either the boot or the shirt from the World Cup final. When he retires, he's got the most Ballon d'Ors. If you had a match-worn shirt or boot, you're basically becoming a millionaire. Comfortably.
Wow. So if you're Leonardo, if you're listening to this and you want to get rid of an old sock,
maybe we should all change our answers to that one.
Yeah.
Well, Lee, we've had Messi, we've had Keegan, we've had Pele, so the 3 greatest footballers of all time.
Oh, I'm going to give you that. I'm going to actually give you.
No comment.
I'm going to give you another football note. I'm going to make Neil's day, actually. So, as Carl knows, I like football, but I'm not a great supporter of clubs. I don't really do clubs, but I do like watching football. And when I was growing up, the one person who I would love to have seen played live, but I used to love watching on telly, it would be an old 70s Arsenal shirt with a number 7 on the back, Neil. Liam Brady. That would be where I would go.
Actually, I remember football from now. I do know Liam Brady. That's lovely.
Oh, well, thank you both for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Hope you've enjoyed your day out in London.
Oh, of course, I have bought a shirt. I've got some free water.
He's so easily pleased.
Who said it was free?
It'll be free because I'll leave before you ask me to pay for it.
That's great podcast. Really enjoyed that one. If you're listening to the podcast and you've really enjoyed this kind of episode on social media and obviously football shirts, give us a little review, because if you leave us a little review, then other people find us, and we want more people to find us, don't we? Because we talk about some really interesting stuff with them.
A whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. That's a wrap.